Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang Dhammang Sanghang Namassami. So, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Sunday talk. And the theme today is the dangers of sense pleasure. I'll try and delve into this theme as to my ability using the Buddha's teachings. It's an interesting topic, sense pleasures. So according to the Buddha's teachings, what is sense pleasure? Sense pleasure is, in Pali, it's called kama. It is K-A-M-A, kama. And really, kama is described in Buddhist terms in two ways. It's called, it's the objects of pleasure and the mind states that arise in the mind in respect of these objects of pleasure. So it's in Pali, it's called Vattu Kama and Klesa Kama. So Vattu means kama arising out of objects. That is the objects seeing, sights, sounds, smells, tastes, and touches. So these are the five chords of sensual pleasures. These are the five external sense doors we have, and whatever object we take are from these five sense doors. So that's one aspect of these sense pleasures. And what arises in the mind on account of this object of pleasure is the klesa kama. That's the other side of the two aspects of the kama, the sense pleasures. So what we construct in the mind, that's the sixth sense door, is everything is constructed in the mind, basically. I mean, we live in a world, the mind, everything is get constructed in the mind. That's the basic teachings of Buddhas, isn't it? That's why mind training is so possible. And that's why a well-trained mind is the biggest wealth we have, It's an asset to have a well-trained mind. So everything is constructed in the mind. We take these sense impressions from these five external doors, and whatever is created in the mind is what the world we live in. So it's very comforting to hear that, to be honest, At least there's a way out. Otherwise we'll be doomed forever with these minds. We become slaves to our minds. So I feel that's very refreshing to hear that there is this door of opportunity, for everybody to train our minds. And that's what I'm trying to explore with this theme. So there's beauty. There's beauty in the world. There's beauty in these objects. Is the beauty in the objects? Or what Buddha is trying to say is, if the beauty is in the object, if we see an object, everybody will see it the same way. Do we see it the same way? If we see a flower, For somebody it's very pretty, but for another it's not. So if the beauty is in the object, we all see it in the same way. So how we relate to this beauty is what we are trying to understand here. For one person it's beautiful, for another it's not. Why is that? Because whatever gets constructed in the mind, seeing this object, so that's the first aspect of this pleasure game. We see the object, and whatever gets constructed in the mind is according to our conditioning and how we have experienced this before. And that's why it's beautiful for one person and it's not beautiful for another. If the beauty is in the object, everybody will feel the same way about this object, which has the beauty. But how we relate to the beauty is what happens in the mind. And the sensual pleasures, the topic of sensual pleasure is all about how we relate to this beauty, objects of beauty. That's why mind training is possible, because everything gets constructed in the mind. And that's what we all have, that nature. We can, at our own will, we can construct anything in the mind. That's the nature of the mind. And mind you, that's the nature of all these sense organs. The eye, you don't have to tell the eye to look. You don't have to tell the ear to listen. The nose will smell, the tongue will taste, and the body will feel the touches. That's the true nature of these existence. So the mind will naturally construct things according to the input that's given to all the 5 sense doors. So to explore this subject a bit more, the subject of sensual pleasure, I'll bring a sutta from the Majjhima Nikaya, sutta number 75. It's called Markandeya Sutta. So it goes, Buddha was living in Kuru country. He was staying in Kuru country, and he was spending the night in a fire chamber belonging to a Brahmin called from a Bharadwaja clan. So he spent the night in this fire chamber on a grass bed, and he woke up in the morning, put on his robes, and went to the village for alms. So after he left to gather alms for the day, a wanderer by the name of Markandeya walked into this fire chamber. And this wanderer Markandeya saw the grass bed that was there, and he pointed to the grass bed and asked the Brahmin Bharadwaja, this must be slept on by a recluse, because he found that the grass bed was hardly disturbed. So he was impressed by the fact that somebody has slept on it and the grass bed was hardly disturbed, and it must be a well-trained recluse. So then he asked the question, who slept on this grass bed last night? So then Brahmin Bharadwaja said that this bed was slept by Master Gautama, who has a good reputation. He's the fully enlightened. He's the fully enlightened. He's a Samma Sambuddha, and he's fully, he's complete in knowledge and conduct, and he's a knower of the worlds, and he trains gods and humans, and he's the Blessed One. And it's Master Gautama who slept on this bed. So as soon as the Wanderer Gandhi heard the word Master Gautama, he said, it is very unpleasant to even see a bed slept by Master Gautama. He's the destroyer of growth. That's how he responded, hearing this good report given by the Brahmin Bharadwaja. So the Brahmin Bharadwaja was very surprised to hear this reaction from Margandeya, the Wanderer Margandeya. Then he said, be careful, he is well reputed in this area, so be careful of your words. And then he asked, if you see Master Gautama, would you say the same to his face? Then Margandeya, the Wanderer Margandeya said, yes, don't try to save me. I will say the same to his face if I meet him face to face. So the conversation ended there. And then, of course, Buddha returned later that day in the evening back to the fire chamber to spend the night. So when he entered the fire chamber, naturally the Brahmin Bharadwaja, exchanged courteous greetings, and after the amiable talk was finished, they both sat, and then to his surprise, Buddha asked the Brahmin Bharadwaja, did you have a conversation with Margandeya about this grass, the very same grass bed I slept last night? So Brahmin Bharadwaja was very surprised. He said, yes. Well, as it goes, the Buddha heard it from his divine ear. So this conversation just got started. At that point, the Wanderer Margandeya entered the fire chamber. So the conversation didn't go anywhere. So then Margandeya, the Wanderer Margandeya, entered the fire chamber, and he greeted Buddha in a courteous way. And when the courteous and amiable talk was finished, he also sat to one side. And then Buddha addressed Margandeya, the Wanderer Margandeya. The Buddha said, Margandeya, the I take delight in form. Taking delight in form rejoices form. But the Tathagata, the Buddha, has restrained the I, guarded the I, restraining the I and guarding the I and protecting the I. He lives with a mind inwardly at peace. Is it on account of this that you called me a destroyer of growth? And the Margandeya said, yes, Venerable Sir, that's exactly why I said you're a destroyer of growth. Because according to our scriptures, according to our teachings, we are encouraged to indulge in sense pleasures. That's how growth is achieved. And that's exactly on account of that I called you a destroyer of growth. So now Buddha established the reason for this derogative remark he made against the Buddha. He went to expound it a bit further. So the Buddha said, the eye delights in form, the ear delights in sounds, the nose delights in smells, and the tongue delights in flavors, and the body delights in touches, and the mind delights in mind objects. And he said, the Buddha has restrained all these sense faculties. He has restrained the eye, he has restrained the ear, he has restrained the nose, he has restrained the tongue, he has restrained the body, and he has restraining all these faculties, he lives with a mind inwardly at peace. And he went to say, he has been living, when he was a prince, living its lay life, he indulged in these sense pleasures very much. He was living as a prince, indulging in these sense pleasures. But after understanding the nature of these sense pleasures later on, so he went on to say, later on he understood the nature of these sense pleasures. Then, through understanding these nature of sense pleasures by exploring them, understanding their arising nature, the ceasing nature, and the gratification, danger, and the escape, through understanding these, he is living, overcoming these sense pleasures with a mind inwardly at peace. And he said, if you know of another person who has enjoyed sense pleasures in the same way, with the eye, ear, nose, tongue, mind, and body and mind, and that person also has understood the dangers of sense pleasures through understanding the arising, ceasing, the gratification, danger, and escape, and this person lives with a mind inwardly at peace, what would you say to that person, Margandhya? Then the Margandhya said, I have nothing to say. He kind of, not that he understood the reason behind it, but he felt that there's nothing to say against that. So when Buddha realized that the Margandhya his mind is, slowly coming to a place where he's opening to the teachings of the Buddha, he went on further to explore this subject. He brought some very graphic similes. There are very graphic similes in this sutta, which he used very much to explore this subject of sense pleasures. And it's these similes that make it alive, really, the true nature of sense pleasures. So the conversation continued. He said, if a person who has been living as a human being and living a comfortable life, a rich person who has been living in a comfortable life, indulging in all sense pleasures, living in a good way, and this person dies and get reborn in the Deva realm. And in the Deva realm, the sense pleasures are even more, according to the scriptures. I'm sure it is. And so this person is now enjoying the sense pleasures in Deva realms. So when this person is enjoying the sense pleasures in the Deva realms, if this person is shown the sense pleasures that are available in human realm, the Buddha asks, will that person swap it for the sense pleasures that he's having in the Deva realm? Or he will be inclined to go for the sense pleasures that's available in human realm? The Buddha said no, he wouldn't. Because the sense pleasures in Deva realms are so vast. So then Buddha said, that's why how he has understood by training the mind through the arising nature, the ceasing nature, the gratification, the danger, and the escape of sense pleasures, that Buddha is living with a mind inwardly at peace. Then he went on to bring the similes that he was bringing to explain it further. Because the Markandeya is now he's not arguing against this theory now, that when the mind is trained, that a person can live at peace without indulging in sense pleasures. But he's now expounding it a bit more, because knowing that Markandeya's mind is slowly opening to the fact that he's willing to listen to Buddha. Ito said, this is the simile he brought. He said, imagine a leper who's having a lot of wounds. His wounds are infested and they're scratching. And these infested wounds, you can imagine a person with leprosy having a body full of infested wounds, and it's itching and scratching and maybe infested with worms. It's not a very pleasant experience. Then this leper, having this uncomfortable feeling, having these wounds well infested, so the leper goes and sits by a charcoal pit and cauterizes his wounds to have some relief from this itching and scratching and the soreness of these wounds. So the leper gets temporary relief by cauterizing the wounds. Seeing the predicament of this leper, his relatives and his friends decide to take this leper to a physician. So a physician makes all kinds of medicine, and once this leper is given all this medicine, unfortunately, the leper is cured of his leprosy. So the leper is now freely living, walking about, free of his leprosy. So while he is walking freely, cured of his leprosy, two strong men come and take him by his arms by force, and this cured leper is dragged towards this charcoal pit. So what will this person do? This person doesn't want to go near this charcoal pit. The person will try their utmost to not to be taken near the charcoal pit. This man will bend his body this way and that way and resist the fact that these two strong men are dragging him near this charcoal pit. Then Buddha asked, why is that, Markandeya? And the Markandeya responds saying, because he knows that if he goes near the charcoal pit, he will burn and scorch. So he's trying to protect himself. So that's why he's resisting the fact that he's been dragged towards the charcoal pit. So then Buddha asked, when this leper was having leprosy, Markandeya, did he not know that this charcoal pit is burning and scorching? Of course he did. But then why he is resisting now not to go near this charcoal pit? And the Markandeya said, when he had the disease, it was the medicine, Now he hasn't got the disease. The medicine is no longer needed. But then he had this perception that this charcoal pit is helping him when he had the disease to get some relief temporarily by cauterizing his wounds. Now his wounds are cured. He wouldn't dream of going near the charcoal pit because he knows that he'll be burnt and scorched. So when he was stricken by this disease, he had this wrong perception of this charcoal pit giving some pleasure. Now the disease is cured. He has the right perception that the charcoal pit is dangerous. So that is the distorted perception this leper had. Well, when he was having leprosy, that's the distorted perception that he was under when he was sitting by the charcoal pit and cauterizing his wounds. So Buddha is preparing Magandia's mind slowly to understand the teachings of the Buddha. So he's doing it in a very slow way, in a gradual way. That's the beauty of these Buddhist teachings. It's gradual training, it's a gradual teaching. So he has understood this fact that the leper was under a distorted perception before. Then he went further, Buddha went further, bringing in another simile. Well, I think at that point he uttered a stanza. He uttered a stanza which is also found in the Dhammapada, which is saying, the highest gain is health, and the supreme bliss is nibbana. It's in Pali, it's arogya paramalabha santuti nibbanang paraman sukhang. Then when Buddha uttered this stanza, Magadha was very happy to hear it. He said, yes, I have heard this stanza, Venerable Sir. And look at me. So he found that the highest gain is health. He opened his hands and showed his healthy body, and his skin is free from any disease. And he said, yes, look at the body. This is a body of health, and this is Nibbana. So that's how Magadha took this stanza. But Buddha meant something very deep, something more deep than that. Because Buddha said, the body is not healthy. The health I'm talking about is the mind health. We can't rely on the body. The body is a time bomb, isn't it? You never know where to come down with one thing or the other. So we cannot attribute the body as a healthy thing, or one can rely on this body for good health. But Buddha, when Buddha was saying the highest gain is health, he was talking about the mind health, the health of the mind. So the Buddha's teaching is all about training the mind, isn't it? The Buddha's teachings doesn't give about training the body. Well, the body training is another subject, but Buddha's teachings is all about training the mind. So he said, the health I was talking about is not the body health, Magadha. It's the mind health. So now he had to bring in another simile to explain this aspect. So because now Magandia is open to Buddha's teachings, and all he has to show is how the mind can be trained. Still, he's relying on the body, Magandia, that is, according to the teachings he has heard, because there were a lot of wrong views during Buddha that time. So these are one of the wrong views that was prevailing at that time. So the next simile he brought is, he said, suppose there's a man who's blind by birth. This man, doesn't see black, doesn't see any color, he doesn't know black or white. And then he hears another man saying, good is a white cloth, beautiful is a white cloth, clean is a white cloth. He just heard these words. Somebody is saying how beautiful a white cloth is. A pristine white cloth is clean and beautiful. Then this blind man thought, okay, I must find a white cloth. So he goes around looking for a white cloth. So, when he is going around looking for a white cloth, another man who is a schemer, he's cheating this blind man. This person is giving this blind man a dirty, soiled cloth and tell him, here is a white cloth. Here's a pristine white cloth. It's beautiful. You can have it. So the blind man receives this beautiful white cloth. In his mind, it's a beautiful white cloth. And he receives it and he wears it. So he wears it and goes around saying, I'm wearing this white cloth which is beautiful and pristine and clean. So the people with eyesight, it's a joke for the people with eyesight. They think how this man is, tricked. This poor man is wearing a soiled, dirty cloth and calling it a white cloth and saying how happy he is with this white cloth. So that's the predicament he's going through. So the friends and relatives of this blind man took this blind man to physician, gave him all kinds of medicine. Unfortunately, he was cured of his blindness. He regained his sight. So when he regained his sight, he saw this white cloth, the cloth he was wearing, for the first time. And he realized how dirty and soiled this white cloth is. He knew he was tricked by this person who gave him the white cloth. So then Buddha asked, when this blind man was wearing this white cloth, when he received it as a beautiful, white, pristine cloth, he received it and not knowing, not seeing, because he was blind, only by hearing the word of the utterance of another man who said, white cloth is clean and beautiful. He believed it to be a white cloth. Based on faith of those words he heard. He had no knowing or no seeing. His faith was mainly based on the words he heard. There's no experience of it. It's merely hearing those words, he accepted this dirty cloth, the soiled cloth, to be a white, pristine cloth, and wore it and thought it was a very beautiful white cloth. Now he has gained his eyesight. He's gained his sight. He can see it. He knows it and he can seize it. He sees it and he knows it now with his own eyes because he's cured of his blindness. So now see the predicament of this situation. So then Buddha went on to say, he compares. So now Buddha is willing to expound his Dhamma. He's willing to go in further into expound his Dhamma. So we can see how perceptions can be changed, how we can be tricked by our perceptions. What knowing and seeing is, seeing it for oneself experientially, not by hearing. It is by knowing and seeing. It's a very different experience, isn't it? The truth becomes available. So the Buddha went to say, he compares this soiled white cloth to 5 aggregates, the 5 khandhas. We are nothing but these 5 khandhas, yes? Form, feeling, perception, volitional formations, consciousness. So this white, the soiled cloth is compared to these 5 khandhas of clinging. We cling to these 5 khandhas, yes? We cling to form, feeling, perception, mental formations, consciousness. We cling to everything. And that's where the suffering or the dukkha starts. Because according to First Noble Truth, in brief, the 5 aggregates of clinging is dukkha. So then he went to expound this, because Buddha said he himself was enjoying sensual pleasures as a prince very much. But he understood the dangers of these sensual pleasures through understanding the arising nature, the ceasing nature, the gratification, the dangers, and the escape. So that's how he now lives with a mind inwardly at peace. So that's why it's like the person who has gone to the Deva realms would not want to trade the sensual pleasures in Deva realms with a person in a human realm. So Buddha has reached that place. And that's why he says that the sensual pleasures are not satisfying. That's why he has understood why the sensual pleasures are a danger, how they are not fulfilling us. So how these things arise? What is the arising nature then? Because that's the first thing he went to expound on, the arising nature, the ceasing nature, the gratification, the danger, and the escape. So we all know the form sees the eye. The eye sees the form. The eye delights in form. The eye delights in form. The ear delights in sound. The nose delights in odors. The tongue delights in tastes. The body delights in touches. And the mind delights in mind objects. And that's how these 6 sense bases work. Why do we take delight in it? We give this sign of beauty, because there is beauty in these objects. We give this sign of beauty the wrong attention. We don't give the wise attention. We give it the wrong attention. We don't see it for its true nature. That the eye changes, the object changes, the eye consciousness changes. They never stay the same. I mean, the eye will be like this now, but in 10 years' time, I don't know what will happen to this eye. Even I wouldn't know what will happen to it tomorrow or in 5 years' time. It's not a permanent entity, this eye. And then the object this eye sees will also not stay the same. If I take delight in a food or a person, another person, that person will become old, and that person, the external object I set my eyes on, will not say the same. It will not give the same pleasure as it will give me at this moment, in 5 years' time or in 10 years' time. And the eye consciousness changes. The consciousness changes all the time. The consciousness arises and ceases. There's no consciousness that stays continuously, is it? We die one day, so the consciousness is changing all the time. So why are we investing on 3 things that are changing all the time? We are investing heavily on these 3 things that we have a contact. The three coming together is the contact. The contact that happens when the eye sees the object and the eye consciousness arises. 3 of them come together is the contact. With the contact, the feeling arises, which is one of the 5 aggregates. And we either like the feeling or dislike the feeling. And we get caught in this feeling. And that's what's constructed in the mind. So we see the object. Now imagine, I look at a cloth. This cloth is beautiful. It has more colors and a shape and a design. And if all the threads of the cloth are taken apart, where is that beauty? Where is the cloth? That color and the shape that was there before has been taken apart. It's a pile of threads. The cloth is no more. But the eye will take delight in that cloth because of the color and its shape. So we take delight in objects, sense objects, whether it's sight, sound, smell, taste, touch, or ideas. We really take delight in them, and we think that it will bring us long-lasting happiness. It's like we are being cheated, isn't it? The blind man who was cheated with the soiled cloth. It's like we have a relationship with somebody, or, we have been cheated by somebody in business, or in a sexual relationship, or in a business relationship. We have been cheated. And when once we have been cheated, how do we look upon that person? So that's how cheated we are, that we become with these sensual pleasures, because we have invested heavily on it, and we are seeing them, hearing them, smelling them, tasting them, and touching them, and thinking about these ideas with the wrong perception. Just like hearing the word, you believe that when you hear something, it's a must-have thing. You must have this gadget, You hear it and you immediately go and buy it. You end up in debt buying it. And then once we buy it, we have to maintain it, to take care of it. It's burdensome to the mind. It's not that Buddha is saying do not enjoy life, but see the danger of it. So that's the arising nature, the ceasing nature. If we don't do that, if we don't have that wrong perception, if we have the wise reflection, we see it for its true nature, that is the impermanent nature, unsatisfactoriness, and not self nature. And we don't, then the ceasing, it ceases. This cleaving and the thirst and the fever of lust born out of this object is disappearing if we are able to see it for its true nature. So that's the ceasing nature. And then he said, this arising nature, the ceasing nature, the gratification. What is the gratification? I mean, the gratification is so short-lived, isn't it? When we eat something, we have to eat one bite, then we have to take another bite to keep that feeling going. Yes, oh, it's lovely. I love that taste. So I had to put another bite, another bite, another bite. So this feeling and the taste consciousness that keep being born and dying, being born and dying, we are chasing that. But just to see it, yes, we can enjoy the food. There's no harm in enjoying the food. We need food. I mean, otherwise, none of us will be here. We rely on food. That's what we are here for, isn't it? Without food, we won't be here. The whole life is spent on finding food and putting food on the table. Why do we work? I mean, I don't know, but why do people work? If there's no food to buy with this money, will you go to work? Ask the question. So, how much we invest on this food business? It's not that don't eat. We have to work so hard to earn money to get these so-called pleasures. Work long hours, get into debt. But if we truly understand the gratification and the danger, the gratification is so short-lived. And the danger is how tiring it is for the mind when the mind is struck with fever of sensual desire, fever of lust-born fever arise in the mind. I must have it's the thing I really want to have, the must-have thing. So, with this, the mind becomes sick. So that's what Buddha was talking about, how the sickness of the mind, Buddha was talking about when the highest gain is health. We can't rely on the health of the body, unfortunately. Can we? I mean, we know through experience, we get born into these bodies, the body goes its own way. It gets old, it gets sick and die. Nobody can stop it. Nobody has found a pill to stop that. So that's the true nature of the body. But the mind, we can experience the mind having fever of lust and the mind being free from fever of lust and still enjoying the food, living life in a good way. So that's the bliss Buddha was talking about. And then he went to say, this is the Noble Eightfold Path. One has to, Buddha expounded to Magandiya, one has to keep the 5 precepts and follow the Noble Eightfold Path in order to train the mind in this way. And that's what the 4 Noble Truths is all about. So in the Eightfold Path, so just imagine that's the first one is right view. The first factor in the Noble Eightfold Path is right view. So we have been cheated by the constructions that are made in the mind, seeing, hearing, smelling, touching, tasting, and with ideas then come to the mind. We have been cheated. We have the wrong perceptions most of the time. We perceive things as permanent, and we don't see the impermanent nature of these objects, the I, the object, and the I consciousness. And if something is impermanent, it can't bring lasting happiness, isn't it? Anything that's impermanent, it keeps changing. So where's the happiness? How can we hold on to something permanent? Oh, I want this. I will keep it like this. No, I cannot keep it like this. It will change. That's the truth. So if it's impermanent, it will not bring lasting happiness. And if it's impermanent, if it's not can't give us lasting happiness, can I own it to be me and mine? No. But with these 5 aggregates, we create an identity, isn't it? I exist. I'm the one who's tasting. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that taste. Who's to say that I don't exist to enjoy that taste? That's the feeling we have with the 5 aggregates when we cling to these 5 aggregates. So the form, we see a form, and then a feeling arises, either it's pleasant or unpleasant. So we are constantly moving between pleasant and unpleasant, isn't it? When pleasant is ending, it is unpleasant, isn't it? It's just 2 sides of the same coin. So the pleasant will end in unpleasant. There's no other way. So, but we're chasing between the two. The pleasant, oh, it's unpleasant, I must chase, go back to the pleasant. So we are, it's like a circle, we are cycling around, it's like we are roaming in samsara. We are rotating around. We go back to the same object. So I've had pleasure having that object a few minutes ago. I go back to it. So we are rotating back to that object. So we are going in circles. So we are roaming in samsara like this, chasing the same object, thinking it will give pleasure. No, it has ended. So once it's ended, it is not pleasurable. It will, because that's the nature of it. The pleasure ends. So we are chasing this same thing. Oh, no, if I try it again, it will be different next time. That's right, you get married, divorce, you get married again, you get divorced, you get married again, I'm sure you all know we find partners and do it again, get a cat, another cat, another cat, or a car, another. We do go and invest in the same thing. The second time it will be different, the third time it will be different. So that's what the rebirthing is all about, isn't it? This is the dependent origination. We invest in and we get born into it again and again and again. And once we are born, it's sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, and despair. Not getting what wants, separation what wants. We get separated from the loved ones, not getting what one wants. So this is the whole mass of suffering that is created. So this is created in the mind. I mean, we are born. We can't do anything about it. We have this body. So we have to look after this body, take care of this body. That's a must. But then we can invest something for the future when we are born. Of course, there is a future. We have to think of the future, plan for the future. But the true future is once we die, thinking of the mind is sick or not. If the mind is well trained, and we can rely on this well trained mind, a well trained mind is our true asset. And we can tap into it anytime. That pleasure or that happiness, well, I call that happiness never leaves us. Because that well-trained mind, we can tap into it anytime, isn't it? It's not conditioned. It's not depending on an object externally. And it's not depending on something that is changing all the time. Because that training, once we have understood, it stays with us. We take it with us. Any possessions we leave behind, isn't it? When we die, what do we take? Do we take our loved ones? Do we take our belongings? No. Sorry, we have to leave them behind. They don't come with us either, You die. You get born alone, you die alone. In between, we dance. So that well-trained mind, that is a true asset. And the Buddha's teachings is all about this training of the mind. And that's why he was called the destroyer of growth by Markandeya. not understanding what is the true nature of training the mind. Because the sense pleasures will not come to our aid in the long term. It's conditioned. We have to work hard to keep it going, and still it will change and it will disappoint us, and they don't help us. When we die, all we take is not these objects of sense pleasures, no. Not these objects of loved ones, no. The possessions, the loved ones, everything we leave behind. Of course, they are needed, they are here when we live the life in this lifetime, but these teachings is helping us to live life in this life in a good way, because the mind is light. We can die, we have the happiness of blamelessness. That's a kind of happiness we have, knowing that the mind is light and the mind is not sick. And that mind stay with us, and it will help in this lifetime and whatever happens after death. Whether you believe in whatever happens after death, it continues with us, isn't it? It's not dependent on anything. It's something we have experienced, knowing, seeing. It's not on faith by hearing something. We have experienced it for ourselves through this mind and body. And that's something we will take with us. And that is something we can rely on. And that's true growth, using the 5 aggregates and understanding the Eightfold Path and establishing the right view in this way. The right thoughts will follow, and this is how we live the life exploring the Eightfold Path. So that's all I like to talk about, the sensual pleasures. Thank you for your attention. And if you have a question, you're supposed to speak into this, take this microphone. Oh, good.
I suppose the question that comes to mind immediately is that how do we, living outside, we get bombarded with lots of sensual pleasures. Is it the right question? Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Lots of input. So how do we guard ourselves? What might be your suggestion?
Sorry, so the last bit. So you're bombarded with sensual pleasures, living in the outside world. Yes. What's the last bit?
So how do we train ourselves and prevent ourselves from getting caught up in those, I suppose? Other than becoming a monk.
No. I don't think this is that everybody has to be a monk or a nun. I don't agree with that. It's the Buddhist teachings are all about, it's for lay people as well. It's the teachings is such that there's something in it for everybody. So you said you're living in the outside world where you're bombarded. Do you have to go to this place where you're bombarded? I don't know. It's you have to use your wisdom, isn't it? That's what being prudent. When the most important thing is, I think I missed that, the restraint, the aspect of restraint. Maybe I didn't talk about it at all. How we choose to restrain ourselves. The restraint can happen through understanding, because seeing the danger of it. You have to see the gratification, yeah? The gratification is so short-lived. As you said, you have to go to this, when you go for this party, you're sold one idea, Well, I'm just, you're told about this gadget, then you go to the other party, you are told about another gadget. Well, I have lived in the world, so, and then you go to the other party, you're told about another gadget. So do you go through all three gadgets? So when you hear it, can you hear it with wisdom? If you hear it with wisdom, yes, somebody says, this is the must do thing, you must go there, this is the holiday to be had. What does it do to you? That's the training, isn't it? So you're saying you're bombarded. The bombarding, who does the bombarding? I'll let you answer it. Yeah, maybe the friends and family is the bombarding, but they have to live with them. But that's why the training is individual, isn't it? You can't train your friends and family. Unfortunately, this is a journey by itself. You can't hold hands and walk this journey. Sorry, that's the true nature. I mean, that's the. But it's difficult. I agree. It's difficult. I'm not dismissing the fact that it's easy. It is a difficult thing. So when that bombarding happens, one has to restrain. One has to use the wisdom. That's when the wisdom faculty comes. You know about the five faculties. That's what get developed. When the mind is trained, these five faculties are developed. That's what meditation does. These five faculties get developed. And then the wisdom faculty, when the wisdom faculty is developed, when you hear that, it's like the blind man, isn't it? The blind man heard there is this beautiful white cloth, so he went searching for it, and he was given a dirty cloth. Neither wiser, being blind. I mean, that's very poignant, isn't it? So you hear all these statements. Oh, this is the must-do thing. This is have to do this. You have to do that. You have to go and have this holiday. You have to have this gadget. I don't know. I mean, that's all I'm talking about because that's what I feel. That's what I'm. The sense, the living in the world. That what happens, and then ask the question: is it really true what I'm hearing? Is this the must-do thing? I have never been part of designer world, so I never went. But I wore beautiful things, I have to say, but I don't know. What does the designer, I don't know, tell me, what does it do? It's covered. If the designer t-shirt does the same thing as the other t-shirt, isn't it? Covering your body, keeping you warm. Maybe that's the thing, you belong to the group, isn't it? If you buy if you buy that designer shirt, you belong to this group and you like to be belonging to that group. Yes, that's what make you buy that designer t-shirt or whatever. It's not because it gives you more warmth than, I don't know, the other t-shirt. No, it doesn't, does it? It's the same. Wearing a t-shirt is wearing a t-shirt. It has this, I don't know, what was that? Gucci or I don't know. Huh? Whatever. And so then you feel that you belong to a group. And that's exactly what the sensual pleasure does, because it creates conceit, mana. Yeah, you want to compare yourself with somebody else, and that's exactly what happens with sensual pleasures. You compare it. I want to have the same car as that person, so I'm equal to that person. If I'm having an inferior one, I'll upgrade my car. Or you think, oh, I have a superior, high-tech car. I'm above that person. So that's how conceit get established, isn't it? That's part of this view that we create. I exist, so I need to be compared with others because I exist. So I need to upgrade myself constantly. So that's the danger of it. So it's that right view, it's very difficult to break that view, isn't it? That's what, according to Buddha's teachings, the first stage, the stream entry is breaking that view of existence, that I exist. Not that it goes away completely, but that seeing it, the fact that I exist, so I have to be equal to her or him, or I have to be above her or him. If I'm inferior to her or him, I'll do something. So that's where we are rotating all the time, isn't it? You have to.
Thing is fitting in as well. It's not belonging. So if you're a kid in school today and all your friends have a smartphone and you don't fit in, you get bullied. It could be in the same in a work environment. If you're working in a social environment, right? And as you say, everybody has a designer handbag, for example. What's the brand or whatever. And if you are in that category, working in that category, but you don't own that designer handbag that all your female colleagues are using, you don't fit in. Then they sort of look down at you, oh, you don't fit into our group, and you don't get to join them for lunch or coffee or tea, whatever. So it's not just belonging, it's also wanting to fit into the group. I hear about kids in school, right? If you don't have a smartphone, you're not part of the group, you're not part of the WhatsApp group or whatever, then you don't get invited to parties or whatever. I don't know. This is what I hear from my friends' kids. But it's not just, so in a way it's belonging, but it's also being accepted and fit into a group. So you got no choice, but you have to conform to what the group is expected of you or what the company is expected of you. My two.
Well, I can't talk about WhatsApp group and having a smartphone. I was a kid, I was at school, I was grown up, and I have grown up as well. Maybe I didn't have WhatsApp phone, whatever these things, but yes, you feel that you belong. But surely there must be friends and family who can support that kid. Do you have to belong to that group, which is the WhatsApp group? In my day, I didn't have WhatsApp groups, so I can't compare it to anything in my day. Because, of course, you have these, yes, I can say that there's when we were growing up, we had groups where they went for parties and, this and that and drugs and drinking and all that. Not drugs, I mean, I didn't have. But then we know the danger of it. We keep away from it. We went for parties, but we didn't drink. So, I mean, I can say that that's my experience. So I can't talk about WhatsApp groups because I didn't grow up with WhatsApp. So it's today, if that's what the world is moving in that direction, then the parents have to teach the dangers of the electronic age. Surely it's up to the parents to educate kids, isn't it? Not that the kids have to fit into anything. No, it's the parents, it's the first teacher of a child. That's the first teacher. I mean, I treasure all the training I have had through my parents, through my school teachers. I didn't get this by coming to the monastery. I had this training before. I'm not saying I didn't have change since coming to the monastery, but our first teachers are our parents and our teachers at school. They need to explain these things. You don't have to belong to a WhatsApp group. I don't think so. I don't know. I don't have the same experience as you do, and I know I don't live in the world. But I personally, hearing it, I don't feel that that's if you feel some deficiency, if you feel that you're smaller just because you don't belong to a WhatsApp group, you need to educate that child. Honestly, sorry. Well, kids are growing up is growing up. In each era, we have our own things to deal with. And maybe in 10, 20 years' time, it would be something else. I don't know. It may be a chip. I don't know. Things change, but the principle of it stays the same, isn't it? The kids need to be educated. The kids don't make decisions. I have to belong to a WhatsApp group. Does it? I don't know. If they're bullied, I mean, just see they have to stand up to it if they're being bullied. If that's a cause for bullying, I think that's very sad. not having a phone. But I don't know. Yes, please can... No. Give it to that gentleman. Sorry, somebody has to take...
I found that children don't listen to their parents. They get influenced by other children, and they spend most of the time with other children. They spend a relatively short time with parents, and they take very little notice of their parents these days.
I'm glad I'm not parenting. Thank you. That's all I have to say. Well, that's the world. That's the world, Yeah. That's the dukkha of being born. That's the first noble truth. I mean, we can find so many things like that. Children don't listen. They don't do this. They don't do that. That was the case even from Buddha's time, from time immemorial. Children don't listen to parents. I didn't listen to my parents sometimes.
So my question is, if we conceptually understand the impermanent nature of all things, why does our mind still have the tendency to form attachments or cling? So if conceptually we understand everything is impermanent, yet the mind still clings.
That's exactly the point. It's the nature of the mind is the clinging. That's what we have been born. We have been roaming in this samsara for eons and eons. We have been born again and again. Imagine if when we die, that's all I can say to explain this. When we die, and if there's a lot of unfulfilled desires, what will happen? Yes, just you have to imagine this. So one has to understand the 5 aggregates really. The first thing to do is understanding the 5 aggregates. There's the form, the feeling, the perception, the volition, formations, and consciousness. It's not easy to understand the 5 aggregates, I know. But at least take the form. If you take the form, see the form. Now that we have experienced it with this form and the forms around us, your parents or your loved ones or how they have aged, that's something we can see and know. So that's what we are trying to understand. How did this form come together? It just came together. It keeps growing old, and then things change. As we grow older, the satisfaction is not the same. And that's exactly what we need to recognize, how we take delight. We take delight in it, and how much we take delight in things. As soon as we see something, there is that grabbing nature, isn't it? That clinging nature. We need to feel that. We need to experience it within this mind and body. I think I heard, this is something I heard that Ajahn Chah used to say. It seems that he holds a bottle, plastic bottle. We can hold the plastic bottle like this and drink it. And we can hold the plastic bottle, squeeze and drink it. And when you squeeze that bottle, how do you feel in this body? There is that charge. There's that volition for the feeling. When you see the form, the feeling that arises with it, when it's pleasant, then the perception arises. And the volition is, there's a charge in this body. I must have this, And we follow that charge, don't we? At that time, do we ever take a step back and see what is happening in this body, because I'm craving for this? Is it worth it? Can we take a step back and notice that craving that arose in the body? I think that's the only way. For me, that's the only way. That's how seeing and knowing that happens. Seeing this in daily life, how much that craving has a hold on this body. There's no, I'm not letting go till I get it. I'm not willing to, I follow that charge. So see that really happening within this mind and body, because that's what Buddha said, this mind and body is the laboratory. Yeah, that's the laboratory for understanding this nature of this existence. So if we can see that charge when it happens, that whether it's anger or the craving or the lust, see that charge and see whether one can not follow that charge and what that charge does to the body. Just feel it. It may be very uncomfortable. But more and more we see that, only then we recognize, okay, when I have, that was a thought of sensual desire. That thought of sensual desire, was really making the mind sick, and my whole body was sick with it. So that's the experiential level one needs to have. I don't know whether that helps. And the more one can do that, only then you realize, gosh, then the penny drops, isn't it? It's a gradual training, mind you. This doesn't happen overnight. We have been roaming in samsara for eons and years, still we are struggling. So, but there's hope.
Can I? It's my problem is the anger, Ajahn. I get angry and I have to say something or do something about it, and then I suffer after that. So can you connect that with that, please?
Yeah, I'll try. I mean, it's a common question. You're not alone. This is a question that comes in every session I've had. Yes, it's best to it's best that you recognize that you have this anger, how much it's affecting you, and how it's good that you follow the anger and how you speak about it, and how you suffer a lot afterwards. But it's good that you recognize at least that much. So when the anger arises, you see, just in meditation, take your day-to-day examples, because I'm sure you have a lot of day-to-day examples, okay? And take it to the cushion. Why anger arose? Imagine you saw I have to take an example. It's just like this, or the chair was crooked. I don't know, I'm just trying to find an example. The chair was crooked, the anger arose. Why can't people keep the chair straight? Why is the anger arising at that time? That is because, I'm taking an example because I like neat and tidy, so that's why I'm taking an example. Then, for me, it's that I hold on to this view. Our views and opinions are the things that are really, really that needs to be looked at. So I hold this view, it must be done this way, okay? This has to be done this way. And I hold on to this view and I'm really stuck to that view, okay? And if I get stuck with that view of it has to be done this way, naturally I will suffer because of anger, because if it's not done that way, the anger arises. So we have to deconstruct how the anger arose in meditation. It's only by deconstructing your anger. It could be because of jealousy, because of, competitiveness, because of, there is a reason. I mean, that's the beauty of Buddha's teachings. Everything happens because of that's a conditionality nature of Buddha's teachings, isn't it? If things arise because of causes and conditions. And then really go to the depth of it, why the anger arose. And can we expect everybody that, especially in the monastery, we have this a lot. In your own home, you're the boss. But here, no, we're not the boss here, really. Well, when things are not done in a certain way, how angry people get. Wow, it's very interesting. And you can see the suffering that goes internally because it's not done that way. And can you expect others to do it my way? Even I can't do it my way sometimes. Imagine sometimes, we try to cook something, and then especially a souffle or something, it comes up well one time and then it comes up not so well another time. So that's that's why the constructions, the sankharas are constructions. That's the danger of constructions. It will never ever satisfy us. So that's you have to, use the Dhamma and deconstruct all these things that arise in the mind. You can reconstruct it very well using the Dhamma. And that's the nature of sankharas. No sankhara is like that, isn't it? It's a very deep subject, the sankhara. And we are trying to construct something, and I'm stuck in. It's in the mind. It has to be like this. And I live with that thought, It's all in the mind, okay? It has to be done like this. It will never be done like that. Not in this monastery anyway. So we have a lot of experience. I have a lot of experience of that. And I have suffered a lot, internally. So it's good to see how the anger arises, and then acting on that is a disaster. So that's the restraint one has to do. So that's the mind restraint, seeing how the view arises and try, this view is formed because of X, Y, and Z. And if I stick to this view, I'm bound to suffer. Do I let go or do I suffer? Choice is mine. Oh, I thought I'm going to have a question-free afternoon at the beginning. Sorry.
Okay, my question is, I don't know if you spoke about boredom and restlessness and how maybe that's really a real challenge at times when you're maybe you're spending time trying to calm your mind and or meditate, but the mind becomes restless and you become bored. And how does that you wanting to reach out and have some sort of sensual or sensation because of boredom, and how to tackle boredom. I've also experienced something beyond boredom once you really just let go, and there seems to be a sense of peace if you can get past it at times. So it almost seems like a bit of a gateway or a door that kind of like is a final sort of telling you, no, don't go down that road. You're bored, do something. So it seems like an opportunity to go deeper, or an opportunity to go the opposite way and cling to something again. Yep.
Okay. Here, what you're saying, I can try and answer. I'm sure you know about the 5 hindrances. So it's good to explore a bit about 5 hindrances. I mean, it's these sensual pleasures. Yes, that's the restlessness and boredom. The restlessness is coming when you have choice, isn't it? The restlessness is, do I do this or do I do that? I mean, that's what I call as restlessness, because there's a choice. Do I follow this or do I follow that? And I think the best thing to do is to recognize this is a restless mind and this is boredom. Yeah, one has to recognize that. That's the first thing to do, not to suppress it or not to, the best. That's true. We then immediately go to the fridge or the chocolate or the coffee, or that's why. Can you see? We are hardwired to do that. When we have something unpleasant, we immediately go for the sense pleasure. That's what we all do. And to see that, to be able to see that, it's good to recognize these things and be honest to these, that thing, the feeling or the perception or the volitional formation that has arisen in the mind. Be honest to our mind. Being honest to oneself is the most important thing in this practice. It's not you have to go and tell the whole world that that's not being honest, Being honest to oneself is the most important thing in this practice. And just recognizing, yes, I was very restless when I heard or whatever. And this is how restlessness is. Just accepting it. Don't fight against it. But if we try to fight against it and try to replace it with something, then we are none the wiser to these experiences, isn't it? So when these things happen, we have to be open to it, be honest to it, and experience it within one's capacity. I mean, when the anger arises, it's best not to follow it, but you know what I mean? You use your prudence to be honest to that and experience it at that time. Then only we can overcome this in the future, isn't it? Unless one's experience it and be honest to it, how do we grow or mature ourselves on these aspects of the mind? Because it's one of the 5 hindrances. The 5 hindrances are it paralyzes the mind, isn't it? That's why Buddha said the 5 hindrances paralyze the mind. The mind is not available to us when the 5 hindrances are there. And sometimes I feel it's the 5 hindrances are connected. When there is sensual desire, anger follows, because if we don't get it, there's definitely anger, isn't it? It's a natural flow. From sensual desire, anger will follow, because we are not getting what we are eyeing for. And then the mind becomes sick, we become tired, and the sleepiness, the lethargy enter the mind. Mind is paralyzed because we're trying so hard to get it, and we become so angry. I'm not getting what I want, and they're not doing what I want. And then the lethargy arises in the mind. The mind becomes lethargic. And then when we have this choice only, I think the restlessness happens. And I think the medicine for restlessness is, I can't remember offhand, walking meditation is good to you can take this restlessness and boredom for a walk, so to speak, yeah? And that way, just walk it. Because that's what Buddha said. When fear arose in Buddha's mind, when he was doing walking meditation, he carried on with it till the fear subsided. So it's best to see an end of it, and then we can see there's light at the end of the tunnel. As you said, if you get over that boredom, there is peace, isn't it? So because there are these sankharas that have arisen in the mind, they don't have a permanent hold on us. And if we can see the end of it, that itself isn't a good experience for us. I think that's all I can say about it. I think. Oh, okay. Yeah, that helps. Well, if there are no more questions, maybe. No, at the top.
in kind of in some, in the world, one of we have all these senses, that have been discussed. But what my concern is in my question is, one of them is it's not exactly pleasurable, but we got a lot of information, news and things like that, which is quite overwhelming and distressing, and that kind of can possess one a bit. No, I don't know if you have any thoughts.
You said the word information. You said information, yeah? Information received is stressful. Did you say the word information?
Like in the news,
yeah, yeah. That's what I thought I heard.
Yeah. Things like that.
Yes. Yes, that's exactly the point. The world we live in is what is constructed in the mind, isn't it? Because these 5 sense doors take impressions externally, and the mind is kind of a repository. Mind deliberates, isn't it? The 5 sense doors, we hear, we see, we hear, we smell, we taste, we touch, and then it goes, then we take it to the mind, and then mind deliberates. So the first contact is hearing the sound, hearing the information. And then the second contact is what we do with this information, with this mind. We are in control of that, aren't we? That's exactly the training the Buddha is asking us to do, the mind training. So at that second contact, when we notice that this information, what was heard, how one is using this information, and it's like chewing the cud, how the cows, they're chewing the cud, and that's how we do that with our minds. It's the wisdom, isn't it? Then that's where the wisdom faculty is very helpful. To notice what's happening within this mind, taking this information. So that way, this is how when we hear all this information, I'm sure news is, yes, I have read papers, I have read news, it does affect one. But one can have enough wisdom to choose whether to listen to this news or not. And if one is listening to this news, how to process it with using one's own wisdom. Because it's processed in this mind, isn't it? I can leave it at the ear door. Yes, this is very disturbing news. Am I ready to explore this within me? Or shall I leave it this at the ear door? So that's the wisdom faculty coming into action, isn't it? If we have enough wisdom to do that, if we have developed our wisdom faculty, we can see that information that I just heard is very disturbing. And if I make it and go on chewing the cud, it's not very helpful. It's not very wholesome. And it will make this mind sick. Is it worth doing it? Well, that's how I will tackle it. I don't know whether that's helpful.
That might sort us out, but the problem still remains.
I don't think this Dhamma is to fix the world. The world that we live in is to be fixed with this Dhamma and training. Yes, one can respond in a wholesome way. But I'm talking about what it does to the mind. That's the action that follows, using one's own wisdom. But I'm talking about what the mind does with it. Okay. Okay. Can you? It's not a question then.
Was something you mentioned before you said information, you said views. Views, you was talking about views and opinions and that. Yeah, I don't know if you can add to that the impermanence of views, and maybe that being something you can look at, how your views may change, given the information that comes in.
There, I wasn't listening carefully. I didn't hear the views and opinions in your question. So you said that because of views and opinions, also you're suffering. Okay. Of course, yes. The views and opinions are definitely the ones that make us suffer. Definitely, because that is the views and opinions are so strong in us, isn't it? And that's what the deluded mind does. We are full of opinions and views, and we are collecting them even more with all this information. What do? Create, have more, even more opinions and views, and that's what the mind does. It's a construction again, isn't it? It's a sankhara. This is the nature of the 5 aggregates. We create another sankhara. Okay, I heard this. Now this is my new view. This is my new opinion. So I have a new badge now, okay? I have enough already, but I'm adding even more. Not happy with what I'm having already. So views and opinions, oh yeah. We suffer a lot on account of those. You're not alone. So just see how they make us suffer, holding on to them. It's a sankhara that we are holding on to, yeah? And it's the 5 aggregates of clinging, once again. Mm. Yeah, I think views and opinions, that's one has to act, because when we live in the world, one has to act. We don't run towards a tiger, we don't run towards a snake or something. We know how to stop at a red light. Those perceptions are useful. Of course, we have to do something if the house is burning down. Get out, definitely. Um, that's a kind of a fact, isn't it? I think, are you trying to figure out whether it's a view and opinion, or what's the question? Because if the house is burning down, of course one has to get out. That's wisdom. Is that a view and opinion? I don't know. I'm not sure how you're connecting the two. Views and opinions are formed based on information that one receives. No, this has to be like this, you know. It has a very different flavor, a view and opinion. It's very sticky. I want to do it this way. And yes, when the house is burning down, I mean, it is my house. Of course, because it's my house only, I feel sadness, isn't it? Of course, you will feel sadness seeing the house burning down. That's because we have this view that it belonged to me. So the fire tells us, no, it doesn't belong to you. So you can bring that aspect into it. I had that view that house belongs to me. But that view has been completely smashed with the fire. I'm not sure whether I'm answering your question, but that's what I'm saying. A view and opinion is formed because of existence, me and my, the I making and the me, my making. That I exist because I exist. The world has to be like this, for me. Anyway, that's. I think it's another subject, views and opinions. I think we can call it a day. Yes, on that note. Anyway, thank you for your questions and thank you for your attention. Wish you well. Have a good evening or afternoon.